Thank you for joining me on this live stream. I appreciate those of you who decided to do it. I do actually have a pretty interesting topic to talk about today. This is going to be on retrospectives in Agile. Now, this is not going to be a general talk about what retrospectives are. This is going to be a very specific thing that I have found incredibly helpful when I've worked with teams to do retrospectives, and that is categories. Categories for the things that you decide you need to work on. And I think in general, retrospectives are a little too, I don't know, they're a little too open, right? It's nice that they're open, and anybody should be able to talk about whatever you want at any time. That's not the problem. But in order to kind of help give some direction to what we want to focus on, what we want to talk about, and kind of give some clarity of thought to the group, I think there's a very helpful tool that I can show you here in this video. So in order to do this, I'm going to pull up a Miro board. Those of you who are unfamiliar with Miro, it's just simply a collaboration tool where you can it's like a whiteboard of sorts, where you can kind of put sticky notes and stuff up on it. If you have a different tool of choice, you're more than welcome to do it, but it should probably be some sort of collaboration tool. If you're using something like retrotool.io or one of those kind of specifically built for retrospectives, I think you're going to have a hard time doing what I'm showing you, because typically those retrospective tools only allow for columns on your boards. And in this case, I want to do also some categories. So let me go ahead and flip over to my screen here and starting to see the live scene. There it is. All right, so I'm going to go over here to my Miro board. Okay, so those of you, again, who are not familiar with this is a collaboration space tool, kind of like a whiteboard. And if you're a Scrum Master, if you're a manager, and you just kind of want to think about like different ways of making a retrospective a little bit more beneficial, I really think that this is going to be very, very helpful to you. And I have worked with teams doing this before, so hopefully you'll find this enjoyable and maybe something interesting. So I'm going to start off by creating a new board, but I'm not going to click on the new board. I'm going to go ahead and use a template just because it'll make things a little bit quicker here to set up. And I'm just going to type in retro to go look for a board. Now this works for any kind of typical one. If you're doing 4Ls or if you're doing happy, sad, meh, or happy, sad, mad, or where the start, stop, continue, right? Any of those boards that have like your typical 3 or 4 columns in your retrospective boards, this will work with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, let's see, what's one that I think it was the happy, sad, glad one. I'll just go ahead and, just kind of or start, stop, continue. Let's just do the mad, happy, sad, mad, or mad, sad, glad, they also say. Okay, we'll use this one. And I think this is just going to give me, I just need 3 simple columns to show you. Yep, this is perfect. Okay, so we just have our typical 3 columns, right? Happy, sad, or mad, glad, sad, whatever. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a line that goes across, and I want to create 4 different columns. So I'm just going to do to there, and we'll copy that and add another one. Ew, I don't like that. We'll just do it manually here, I guess. Like that. It's exciting watching me draw lines. Okay, but what we want are 4 columns or 4 rows to go with our 3 or 4 columns, right? So whatever you're doing, happy, sad, meh, 4Ls, whatever it is, doesn't matter how many columns. But what I am doing is I'm adding rows to this. Okay, and for the top row, I would put in individual. Okay, and I'll cover what I mean by individual in just a moment, but I'm going to say individual. You might actually understand it as soon as I get done typing all these 4 things out. But team, come on, copy, and this one is going to be org or organization. And then finally, product. All right. And you may already start to see where I'm going with this, and hopefully that's you kind of picked up on this. Effectively, what we're doing is we're narrowing down the conversation to basically 4 different categories. So what are we happy, sad, mad, or mad, sad, glad about on an individual level? What are we mad, sad, glad about at the team level? What are we mad, sad, glad about at the organization level? And mad, sad, or glad about at the product level, okay? So this just really helps give some focus and some direction to allow your brain to kind of explore different domains within the work that you're doing. And that's really incredibly helpful. It kind of, again, if we just had the original happy, sad, or the mad, sad, glad, or the 4 L's or whatever, like it's a little non-scoped, right? It's kind of nebulous. We're not really sure where to go with this. And so you get kind of random thoughts that get posted up and people are kind of left kind of wondering where something kind of fits in with or how things should be grouped. So this, by having these categories, it really will help you in focusing your attention on, oh, come on now, on specific areas that you think there are needs. Can I just delete some of these? I'm just going to try to go around and delete these tickets. And again, you don't have to use Miro. You can use whatever board you're currently using, just as long as you have the ability to add rows. Now, one other thing I just kind of want to point out here is that once you have identified if it's the individual, team, organization, or product, there's quite often kind of the later stage when we start going through all of the tickets, what you will probably start to do is also decide on some sort of action items, right? So we might have another column over here that's like action items, or wherever you're tracking them at. Well, those action items now have a specific target of who, I hate to say assigned, it's not really about assignment because it's really about, group participation and group ownership. But what you are allowing yourself to do now is kind of say, well, if it's at the individual level, who is the most likely person to kind of fulfill this kind of new obligation we've set up for ourselves? Well, on the individual level, of course, that would be yourself, right? And really what these are about are your new goals to set for yourself, right? These are goals for yourself. So when you're saying, I'm kind of upset about the way that I spoke to Josh on Friday, and I didn't really seek out anybody to help me out with the ticket that I had trying to integrate, the Google Maps API. I kind of got flustered on some of the tokens, and I know Josh could have helped me, so I'm kind of upset at myself for that. Or I want to congratulate myself, like, hey, I did really, really good about this. I was able to implement this third-party API, no problem. Or I thought that the architectural design that I came up with this, or the way I did TDD, like you can be happy about stuff that you set for yourself and like recognize those things. And you're like, these are your goals. You're setting goals for yourself. At the team level, well, you could either do the team, but also if you have somebody like an Agile coach or a Scrum Master, right? Whatever those things are. I don't want arrows. I actually want like pipes. There we go. So like I guess you could say responsibility. I don't really like the term responsibility. It's like, who fulfills this function? Who is going to help you out in this? Well, it's the team, the Agile coach, or the Scrum Master. So if we find something that is team-based, then who is going to take on that action item? Well, the team takes it on, or the Agile coach takes it on, or the Scrum Master takes it on. Right? Kind of whoever is kind of in that role, I guess you could say. Maybe role is the better term there. Now, when it comes to the organization, when you've identified something within the organization that needs a little help, well, if you have a manager, right, like a IT manager or a director, right? Somebody that's kind of that next step up, and you're basically providing feedback about how you think the organization has impacted the way that the team is working. Well, now you know that this action item needs to go up to the IT manager or the director, right? And then finally, and I probably need to like hide myself here. Let me see. I'm gonna do. Is it this one? I probably need to hide myself so that you can see. There we go. Okay, so it's just a disembodied voice now. But what I'm going to do here is, if you have a product owner, right? Because they're responsible for the product. So if you have any sort of feedback or an action item about the product, so we think that we have a better idea of instead of Google Maps, let's use I don't know, some sort of open source tool, or if we decide that we want to do a different database, right? We think that SQLite is just not robust enough. We want to move to, I don't know, PostgreSQL or whatever it is. Then you can kind of bring that up to your product owner and say, hey, there's something about the product itself that I think we need to make some changes to, or I'm really happy about this. And you know, it's just a way of really focusing the attention on the specific categories of where you're upset, happy, mad, right? Or again, the four L's: like, long, learned, lacked. Let's see, liked, learned, longed for, and lacked, right? Or whatever, start, stop, continue. It doesn't really matter which format you're using, but just adding these layers of categories or domains of where you're thinking can really help you focus your attention on specifically what is it that you're not happy about, right? It just gives them a little bit of mental focus, but at the same time allows us to go back and look at at the action items. And when we do these action items, if you're doing assignments, you can go ahead and pick someone. You know the person who is going to be, you know, assigned that particular action item because it makes sense. It falls within their particular domain. So hopefully you all get something from that. I know it's a little bit of a you know, not everybody's doing these Agile retrospectives, but I thought, well, it is something that I've done with teams before and set it up this way because, and honestly, the feedback that I've gotten, it has been really good. So if you like this idea, if you like this concept, please feel free to take it. I don't care. You don't have to attribute it to me. Just do it. I just want to see better working teams.